They're just kind of like turning these kids into a harp antenna grid.
So much more than fun in games at the Cartoon Cabal. Beyond what's just in the name at the Cartoon Cabal. See just at what cost comes fame at the Cartoon Cabal. So much more than fun in games at the Cartoon Cabal.
Hello, welcome to the Cartoon Cabal, where both of us are dancing like we want a podcast. That's right, we're looking at both of you dance like you want to win. Episode 9 of Neon Genesis Evangelion. This is Matt here. It's a Paranoid American over there. How's it hanging?
I feel like we should also mention that the original, or at least the title that this went by, was Moment and Heart Together, but then it got retranslated into both of you dance like you want to win. And the latter is infinitely better.
It is, and I always come. I guess I'm always coming to you weirdly with the English titles, because when I watch these on my player, it always gives me the English titles, and then the episodes itself it gives you the English title, and then it blasts the Japanese one like halfway through. So I never really know. Yeah, you get to pick. So this time we know which one to pick. We're dancing like we want to win. This is interestingly a very highly rated episode as I was looking through. And I liked it, to be sure. It didn't strike me. The tone changes here intentionally. Like they kind of like we got too heavy in the first 6 episodes. So 7, 8, 9, 10 are like kind of intentionally trying to be somewhat goofy.
This one and the next one are a little bit goofy. This one too, my note right out of the gate was, this is the horniest episode so far without nosebleeds.
Yes, and I wrote that too. This one is starting off horny, whereas the next one I write, this is the horniest. So the next one, we watched both, and we're doing them back to back, but the next one's even hornier.
I'm watching these, and the first thing I was like, okay, anime nerds, now I get why this one is so evergreen in the catalog. I get it. Like,
but Japanese and casual horniness. Before we got on, I was telling you about getting my dual citizen daughter's passport woes, right? So I had to go digging for documents and stuff, and I found this pouch of passports and documents that has been mostly untouched for 15 years. And when I went in there, I had to put it in my daughter's room because they're going to start doing the paperwork tonight. I made sure to take these out first, which have been sitting in there for 15 years.
What are you holding up?
These are Japanese expired condoms. Like, why are there condoms in the freaking official paperwork pouch?
That came from the state?
I think no, these are Japanese ones. No,
okay.
I don't know why they're there. I mean, hey, we've been married for a long time, haven't been using those for a while, so I know. I'm like, why are those there in the official? I don't know. Red tape makes you horny.
Aren't those illegal now in Japan because of like the population issue? You're not allowed to even get condoms.
That's right. If there's a man and woman walking opposite ways on the street, a police officer will pull out their billy club and threaten to bash them if they don't start doing it. Honestly, some of the Japanese initiatives they're always like, everyone should start having more children. Then that's the response, right?
Give me some cash. Like, what's the reward?
There are cash, but they're lame ones. It's like, we'll give you we'll give you $50 extra a month if you have kids. Like, that pay hasn't particularly increased in the past 20 years, so that's not really much of a bump.
Let's talk like 3K, and then we can dance a little bit. We can dance like we're trying to win.
That's right. I should mention also, because now we were getting Asuka I guess that's her Japanese name. What would her Anya? What would her actual German name be? Have they said that? They said that maybe in the last episode, and I forgot.
Well, I've been incredibly careful when I look up or wiki or Google things about this show, because I know that like a bunch of weird stuff is going to happen. I don't want to ruin it for myself. Yeah. But I did look up her name. Her full name is Asuka Langley Soru. So everyone just calls her Asuka. That's what everyone calls her in the show. But her middle name is Langley, which makes me think CIA. Right?
Yeah. Wait. Is that Asuka or Asuka? Sorry, this is just...
It's spelled Asuka, but the enunciation in the show is Asuka. They don't say
Asuka.
The part.
Okay, I'm only asking because I was teaching someone named this 12 hours ago. So, and it did come up. Do I put an S or a Z there?
It's phonetically Asuka in the show, or Asuka.
Right. But yeah, they call it half in Japanese, which seems weirdly insulting if you're half Japanese and half something else. So and hey, I guess my daughter is this girl at the school because she's the half girl, the only half girl at her high school, but at junior high as well. So
okay, so I guess I couldn't really tell because of the anime style if she was pure white, like if she's like German purebred, or if she was half, or if she was just Japanese and dyed her hair red. I really can't tell the difference between these three, except for in the very beginning of this episode, they're making a big deal about, oh, the international students here. And when she shows up, there's these three Japanese girls that are looking at her. And when they kind of like make a weird face, like, oh my God, they like really Asian out the faces way beyond, just so that there's like a contrast. But otherwise, if everyone's looking normally, she just looks like any other anime character. Am I off?
No, that's the thing with anime. Like anime is just like everyone looks the same in anime, right? You know, like when I watched Howl's Moving Castle and switched to English, it took a few minutes because everyone just looks the same. So
I'm glad it's not just me. Maybe I mean, you're just a guy from Atlanta too, so maybe you're not the best authority.
No, that is the style. And when like say girls are like drawn in their school notebooks here, they'll make an anime version of themselves that doesn't look particularly Asian, right? I also wrote down, I guess my Japanese is getting somewhat better. Did they not talk much in the first 2 minutes of this episode? Maybe it's because it was school chatter and I hear it all the time. I skipped the opening this time just for time. And I think I went 2 minutes before I realized that my subtitles weren't on.
So, okay, yeah, it was basically just the entire school geeking out over this new exchange student who's this white girl with red hair that comes from Germany, even though she looks pretty much the same other than that.
Yeah.
But I get feel about it.
Since I work in a school, I guess it just sounded like so natural to me. I didn't even notice that I wasn't reading any English, you know?
The only reason that I even realized that she's German is because one time when she's walking around, someone says Guten Morgen to her, and that's it. There's really no other direct.
The last episode, remember she was in her mech and everything was running in German. Shinji was in there, so she had to change the interface to Japanese.
But yeah,
apparently it responds. So they definitely went on it hard an episode, or I guess last episode is when she showed up. So but yeah, this one I guess you're just supposed to remember. You know, for us it's been almost a month since we recorded the last Ava episode, just because of various timings and things. So you know, we'll give you a little month to forget about it. What was this line about? I wrote the quote: "A woman with a mole in the pathway of her tears is destined to a life full of them." That seems like a horrible proverb, but
was that Kaji that said that?
I think he says it. Is he saying that on Misato? I guess. Yeah.
It's hard to tell because now we get to meet Kaji, who's kind of been a background character until maybe this episode more recently.
Yeah, I think he was only in the previous episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago. Yeah.
So, and I'm starting to figure, because it's also kind of hard to tell ages between all these different characters. So I had to make like a cheat sheet for myself. So whenever these two characters are having interaction, I'm actually like, okay, the 30-year-old guy is hitting on the 29-year-old girl now. Okay, that checks out. Okay, now he's hitting on the 30-year-old girl that he works with, who's the doctor. So he comes into the scene and he's just flirting with everyone that works in NERV, which I don't know. It's a little weird to be doing that where you work under these like extreme pretenses, but
I think it's even weirder in Japan.
It's even people. But it's like the fantasy alpha guy that's doing all the things that are not sort of sheltered away, right? So he kind of represents everything that Shinji isn't. Like if Shinji grew up to be either really cool or so insecure that you turn cool from it, then this is kind of what Kaji is. But there's like a total disconnect between the two of them.
Also, Shinji might get groovier in high school. I mean, I've seen students that are totally lame in junior high that do kind of step it up in high school a bit, you know?
Well, he steps it up a little bit because the new exchange student girl, or like this new foreigner, Asuka, I'm going to have to keep learning how to pronounce and read all these, but Asuka, she shows up and she's immediately like flexing on everybody, and she's hyper competitive. And it's all like, I'm better than you. And there's this one point when Shinji calls her a dumb rookie verbatim. And I was like, damn, Shinji, like you're actually starting to grow a little bit of a pair now all of a sudden. I up until this moment, he's never really stood his ground unless he was like completely pushed to the edge. And this was a first impression. So I don't think that it changed his character at all, but it was just surprising for him to say that at that moment.
I mean, he is a new kid in a new town in an insane situation. So, I mean, I guess you got to give him a little slack, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I think kids are adaptable. They can grow up in the most horrific environment, and if it's all they know, it's just the baseline. You're just a fish in water.
Let's see. They do mention about people being chosen to be pilots. Like there's something very specific which we don't know about yet. That did kind of make me think, oh, maybe his like a weird genetic, test tube baby or something. I don't know why I said genetic with that, but
well, one of the other quotes from one of the kids at the beginning of this, when they're talking about everyone that gets picked to pilot one of these Avas, and he says, "I wonder if only weirdos are chosen to be Ava pilots." And that was such a great point because so far that is the case.
Maybe you do have to be, a little bit mentally fractured or have the potential, like our redheads and conspiracy culture, right?
I mean, you're gonna lead me right into it already. So in the deepest depths of MK Ultra and Project Monarch lore, I've gone all the way to the ends of these things. I'm pretty sure, at least the literary takes on all these. And the premise is that for hundreds of years, perhaps, elite families all over the world have been trying to breed offspring that can snap in and out of disassociation, almost at will. And that apparently, if you're a redhead, this applies to you even more so. And it might be tied to the fact that redheads need, I can't remember if it's more or less anesthesia than normal people, but there's all of these physiological objective differences between redheads and the rest of the population that in conspiracy lore makes them sort of the ultimate A+ Wayne Gretzky of sort of MK Ultra mind control. Like they can slip in and out of consciousness, slip in and out of different personalities, like putting on a hat and taking it off. And I don't want to imply that every redhead is somehow more prone to mind control and hypnosis, but maybe they are. I don't know.
My grandfather's a redhead. Who knows?
Try it on the redhead the best. Just try and hypnotize them the next time you meet them. Don't even tell them.
Or again, I mentioned before, I'm a regular meditator, and that's hypnotizing yourself. So you can, I guess, you're MK Ultraing yourself in that case.
Are we on to anything? I'm just curious if anyone's has red hair or self-identifies as ginger. Do you feel that there's any truth to this concept whatsoever about elite families breeding redheads because they can slip in and out of disassociative states? I don't know. I find it beyond fascinating, and there's historical evidence that does tie into this, but we'll keep this because I'm sure now that we've got a redhead on cast that slips in and out.
An international one, because in Japan, you say like they dyed their hair, but a German girl shows up, you're like, I guess she's a redhead,
So I think that the mind control angle just got dialed up a little bit. Like we're at like an 8 or a 9 now.
But then Ray, who is I guess they like the showrunner said, he was just like, yeah, I felt like I was kind of finished with her arc after season 6, and she's just kind of like occasionally floats through the background now, there is barely a character there because she is so MK Ultra seeming, where Asuka not so much.
Well, Asuka is brand new. She's got that fire of life in her, and Rey, it feels like it's almost been completely extinguished. Maybe not yet, because then she would just be dead or catatonic, but she absolutely is. This is what happens when you drive your MK Ultra mind control slave too far, too long, right? It's like you're playing Red Dead Redemption. You don't take a break and feed your horse every once in a while. You just ride him into the ground. This is kind of Rey right now.
Yeah. So and again, someone who hasn't seen a show much, I am like, are we mostly finished or where are we going with this? And I know there's going to be more with her.
No, because right now she's an empty shell. She's I have to just, I guess, shoehorn the word homunculus into every episode, but she is damn near a homunculus where she's got a body that can act as this perfect host, but there's no spirit actively living inside of it, which just means there's a vacuum that's waiting to be filled.
And then there's Shinji's bizarre love life, where the 29-year-old woman is for some reason almost forcing herself on her, and she stops, and he has a moment with Rei, and now he's we're moving on to Asuka here, where maybe this
is Kaji in the past. Maybe he's a clone of Kaji, and he's going to slowly come into his own, because he is doing the same thing Kaji's doing, where Kaji is kind of just flirting around with all the other women that are his age, 29 and 30. And now Shinji is like flirting with all the different 14-year-olds, although his is more unwittingly, like he's accidentally finding himself in these weird situations.
But he's 14, right? So that happens. It also makes Misato's weird behavior like slightly, I'm not saying it's justified, but you can see where mentally she might end up, like hitting on Shinji as she did the first couple episodes,
Well, I think that dynamic has completely shifted now, right? Because now, at least for this episode, Shinji and Asuka, they move in together, and they have to eat together and sleep together and brush their teeth together and do all sorts of things like with complete synchronicity. And I don't just mean kind of doing it at the same time, like literally stroking their teeth at the exact same time and speaking in unison, kind of like just like when twins are being super annoying. They're doing that on purpose.
Or children of the damned sort of twins. They're trying to determine children of the damned twins. Yeah, and then I do like they have like, the production of the show's mid-90s, so you have kind of this proto dance game, because the dance game's really picked up in 99 or something, like a couple years after this, like Dance Dance Revolution and all that. Yeah,
right. It's Dance Dance Revolution, but they're kind of playing it on a Nintendo Power Mat, which is
looks
a
like
little
Twister.
bit older, because this show is from the mid to late 90s, right? So it wasn't quite at the peak of Dance Dance Revolution with like the full blown arcade machines, So as I'm watching this with my tinfoil hat on, because I forgot to take it off before this episode, but I was just imagining that what they're doing, first of all, it's synchronicity, and someone makes a really good pun. I don't know whether intentional or not, but they're like, you guys are living in sin. And I was just thinking like, no, they're living in sync. Like it's one letter off. They're living in sync, and it's in order to combine their powers, because otherwise they fight against each other. So there's like a very alchemical aspect to this, where you've got these two opposite elements that you're forcing to work in tandem with each other. And then I started imagining they're just kind of like turning these kids into a harp antenna grid, right? Just make each one of them act the same way, project the same energy at the same place, so that the collective of both of them fighting is essentially something that's greater than the sum, essentially. So I was just imagining that everything in this episode in particular gets real crazy into the conspiracy in the occult world.
Yeah. Although we do have to be a little bit careful sometimes. This is jumping ahead to the next episode, because we watch both. It's not a spoiler, but they have the phrase, I like when Asuka's complaining about her schoolwork, when in Rome, do like the Romans do, right? Which is our version. In Japanese, it is when in the village, follow the village, which is from an ancient Japanese book, Dojikyo. So a Japanese person would be like, you're quoting the Bible, where we're like, oh, that's just some phrase, which is a little different. I mean, not the Bible. We're quoting a big old book,
When in the village, follow the village. That's the saying. Right.
So a Japanese person would like again, not take out the religious connotation, but it would sound like Shakespeare to them, right? Whereas when in Rome is just kind of like, pop culture slang.
They mean the same thing, though, no?
They mean the same thing, but the Japanese one has more cultural weight to it, where I don't think ours does, Yeah,
so when in the village, follow the village, that almost feels like it comes from a place of respect. And when in Rome, at least every time I've ever been introduced to that, I understand the historical significance of it. But the modern version of it, it's almost an excuse for hedonistic behavior, or like, well, when in Rome, it's like, okay, we're
right. Whereas when the village, follow the village suggests like you need to become part of this community and be a responsible part of the community, right? Whereas
it's so Japanese, Japanese.
Yes, but that's my whole point. Like, if I were the translator, yes, I would translate that to when Rome do as the Romans do. That makes perfect sense, but you do lose a shade of meaning doing that. And I'm just mentioning that when you mentioned they're living in sin. No one's going to think that in Japan. Sync, okay, they might do that. Sorry, I thought you said sin but that wouldn't be
because that's what one of the friends says to them. It says, "Oh, you guys are living in sin because it's just a girl and a boy living by themselves, like sleeping in the same bed and everything."
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is what we heard is probably slightly different than how it came across in Japanese. So,
are we combining episode 9 and 10 for this?
We're not. I just want when we're doing 10, that specific point might not come up again, and that was like I said, it's not really a spoiler. We already can tell Asuka's not really into doing schoolwork, so. We have.
There's a really fun part of this episode, which is, I think, one of the most action-packed. Even if it's not all fighting, there's so much action and color and like vibrant scenes in this episode that make up for at least 3 or 4. We're only on episode 9, right? At least like a third of this series so far did have like a somber, rainy kind of attitude, and I think this one makes up for a lot of that. And the girl is truly a badass.
Yeah, this one is actually meant to be a bit of a parody, like not like a not like a Mel Brooks Zucker sort of thing, but just it's light parody. The fight scene at the end, if you notice, where they're in sync and how the shots are actually meant to look like Gorilla, like the 70s Japanese sci-fi. It's not even Godzilla level. It's a little cheesier than that because it's for TV. It's basically Godzilla stuff for TV from the 70s. So the shots are very simple. It's got like exciting music on, and that's what they were actually trying to like kind of parody at the end of this.
That subtlety was definitely lost on me.
Right. So even someone watching it now might not. A Japanese person watching it now might get it. Let me see. I want to look at the specific thing they say about that. The most explicit comic parody of the mecha genre, or Evangelion's most explicit. And I'm looking for the show they mentioned. But there was some term. Now I'm vamping too hard. I'll bring it up if I get it. So we haven't actually done a story for this, have we? So you seem to have more of a thing about that than I do, if you want to throw it out there.
Yeah, just in case anyone wants to follow along or be reminded if they've already seen it or they have no intention of seeing it. So I get the story on this one. It's kind of meandering, right? Because this is an ongoing series, but new girl shows up at school. She's clearly this German 14-year-old girl that is ready to pilot an Ava. She's been kind of singled out for it. She's basically like a super smart. She's graduated from college and all this stuff, but she shows up and she is ready to kind of compete with everyone. She sees being the best Ava pilot almost as a competition. And this causes a little bit of rift between her and Shinji. So when they go off to fight, instead of working together, she's trying to kind of outdo him, and it all goes wrong. Although it looks badass because she takes this big sword out and she like slices this fallen angel right down the middle, and it splits open in half. But then it reforms itself into these 3 other little like mech alien things. It was hard to describe, but the original one it looked like she destroyed an organic thing, but then the organic remnants of this body of the angel turn into something else and then like multiply. Did I miss what was actually happening there?
I think that's generally it. I mean, angel stuff is weird. That's the whole point. And from what I understand, it's only going to get more and more incoherent from here on out. So, okay, which I'm looking forward to.
I'm glad we're on the same. So after they go and they fight and they lose, there's this shot that I think represents this whole point of it being a parody, but both of the mech suits are upside down, halfway buried into the ground. Like a kid took a toy and just shoved it into the dirt. So it shows them. And what I really liked about that is it cuts directly to this weird MK Ultra flash. They're in the middle of a fight, and then all of a sudden the frame goes white with like a weird lens flare effect around it, or almost like a rainbow pattern that you'd see on an old TV when the signal was lost. And then we zoom out, and then we see that they're actually reviewing these slides. They're doing a military debriefing of how everything went wrong from that point afterwards. I thought that was like a really clever shift. And whenever something cuts right in the middle of the action, and then it goes to like a very simple thing and like jump into the future, it's always such a jarring experience. Like I just wrote down MK Ultra transition.
Yeah. Okay, I found the bit of notes I had here that tokusatsu shows. Ultraman was a much better example than me trying to talk about gorilla for some reason. I guess I like monkeys, but yeah, like Ultraman? The Ultraman. Think of Ultraman battles, which in Japan,
like Power Rangers, then.
But 70s, late 60s, 70s version, right? So because Power, yeah.
Again, all this nuance is completely lost on me right now.
That's fine. But and then the shot you mentioned where they're goofily, the legs are in the ground and stuff is describes a homage to Kan Ichikawa's The Unugami Family and Shinji Somai's Typhoon Club, which, I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me, but it's a specific reference, I guess is the point.
What is the point? And they actually ask Shinji and Asuka this question, like when they realized that everything had kind of gone wrong. I thought it was telling because Asuka, she shouts out to pilot Ava's and she's immediately corrected and they're like, wrong. This is to defeat the angels. And I just like how they keep reinforcing what they're doing here and how important it is, and not to get sidetracked into all the weird mech and sort of like romance storylines that ultimately the point of NERV and the point of the show and the reason that you're watching it is to see them and learn how to defeat angels.
Yeah, as the show goes on, it's definitely doing more and more of a juggling act. Because I remember in the first 6, I was like, oh, we're doing this genre. Now we're doing this genre. Now it's like, let's do like 8 things at once, which is kind of working. I guess that's why the show is well regarded,
I also feel like this is peak anime. Even when I was thinking of like a hyperbole simplified version, just a bunch of kids screaming in mech suits, I didn't realize how close to the real truth I was when I was dismissing it. Now that I'm in the thick of it, I feel like I was still right. Maybe not to dismiss it, but I was on point with what I was missing out on.
But that was kind of the point of the show. So they probably had the same thought as you, like, because we like mech stuff, but it's just kids screaming. So at the end of this one, it's a parody. So let's just have the kids screaming,
Okay, fair point. It's also hard for me to get a tell on something that's self-aware when I'm still just learning about it myself. So I can't tell when they're being self-aware.
Here's what I think the battle, especially in this episode, is a good comparison to that. The fight at the end of the first Ant-Man. We're like, haha, that's a giant Thomas the Tank Engine. It's that, is it? It's been a little while since I watched and stuff like that. So for us, it's like, it's still kind of serious. It's a Marvel movie. It goes in with the other stuff. At the same time, it's kind of goofy. And it's kind of a parody because we're getting like these really ridiculous references that the Japanese audience in 1996 or whatever, they're getting it. You and I have to look at the, do the research and then be like, oh, it's citing this movie and this movie. How interesting. I've never seen those movies, I mean, I've only seen like 5 episodes of Ultraman.
It's like explaining a joke to someone. I get it.
Yeah. You have to say Ultraman in Japan, by the way, or they won't. If you say
no such thing.
If you say Ultraman, they will not understand what you're saying. It has to be Ultraman.
I've also kind of been actively looking for any sort of biblical references that come up in this show, just because, again, I'm maybe at this point I'm on a mission to prove the VO guy wrong, that there is like a deeper Kabbalistic take on all this. And I don't know if this was just said out of like a humor line or maybe if it was mistranslated, but when his friends all find out that Shinji is living with Asuka alone in this house and they're like, oh my God, you're living in sin or sink or whatever. So one of them gets really specific and he's like, or maybe it was the girl. I think it's actually Asuka. And she screams and she says, a boy and a girl should not live under the same roof after the age of 7. So that was very specific rule. And there's actually,
I can tell you where that's from if you want. It is a Confucian proverb from the Book of Rites.
Really? Do they cite the number 7 specifically?
I don't know about 7. I just know that's what the reference is from. But I imagine it does say 7. They like the number 7, Because
there's also a Talmudic reference to this one by.
Oh, here we go.
Maimonides.
That is the age where that fits actually well with Japanese society, because before that, the hot springs, which we'll see more of in the next episode. If you're like, my daughter would come with me into the hot spring until actually probably about 6, because she's coming in with an American. But yeah, until it's generally considered in Japan up to 7, kids can go into the other gender's hot spring and nobody cares.
Interesting. Okay, so that's like a Confucius based thing.
Yes. So I think 7 actually is correct. I don't have the specific quote in front of me, but I believe that's probably correct because that's the Yonsen culture. So her saying that kind of makes sense. Why she quoting Confucius, I'm not sure. A few scenes later, do you want to talk about that biblical reference? There's one a few scenes later if you want to talk about
the wall
it.
of Jericho that comes.
Yeah, the walls of
down,
Jericho
yeah.
comes up. Yeah.
So they're being forced to live together. And I just want to slip in too that one of the cool aspects of this is the way they're supposed to be in sync is that they're both listening to the same music, and there's every action that they take, like whether it's brushing your teeth or playing like a DDR game, which they're doing in order to practice all this, or if it's just like eating or anything, that they're supposed to do it to the beat of this music that's synchronized between the two of them. And I thought that was such a cool idea that everything they do is sing, and you don't know what the music is until the very end of the episode, by the way. But as they're doing this, I can tell that Asuka is getting kind of sick of Shinji. Like I think any reasonable person would. Eventually, you'd be like, God, this guy's giving me the ick nonstop. So when they're no longer supervised by Misago, then they decide like, okay, or Asuka decides, you take this side of the house, I take this side of the house. It's when two siblings put up the little fort tower of like towels or pillows and says, don't go over this line. And she says this is the wall of Jericho. And I'm wondering, was that in the original Japanese version as well? Do they cite the wall of Jericho, or do they bring up a different wall?
I'm not 100% sure on that because it does also reference the movie It Happened One Night from 1934. So I'm not 100%. I mean, geez, now you got to go back and play the scene and listen to the Japanese, I guess, to answer that. But it might be the same. That movie. I mean, there are movies like in Japan, they just love Roman Holiday, and I'm not sure if they love It Happened One Night that much, but they might. So there are these random movies that are just super old movies that are just super popular in Japan. Audrey Hepburn is so big in Japan still. It's weird. I don't know how her coattails are going in America these days, but
I don't think anyone cares about her anymore.
Okay, we have commercials that'll reference Audrey Hepburn in Japan. They love her. My daughter like went and watched like all of her movies a few years ago. You know.
let me be frank too. I do not have my thumb on the pulse of the culture in this country, so I'm maybe the worst person to have.
Yeah.
And for any of the Bible nerds out there, Wall of Jericho is Joshua 6:20, or at least that's where it falls. And that's the coolest part about the Wall of Jericho is that essentially everyone screams and it falls down, but this has been reinterpreted in conspiracy and occult lore as some sort of a frequency weapon that when they took down the Wall of Jericho, it was a sonic device. That's what has been kind of interpreted in modern times. In the Bible, they just say that they all screamed, but I do like the idea that the Bible stories include sort of futuristic, audio weaponry.
I had a fantastic time reading the books of Zachariah Stitchin. Do I necessarily agree with all of that as reality? Probably not. But man, he's a good writer. Was a good writer.
We're all just farming gold under threat of audible weapons, essentially audiotronic weapons.
Yeah, that's the thing because he's basically like reinterpreting all this stuff as like crazy sci-fi stuff, and that I liked reading it. I'll probably read it again someday, or at least his daughter made like a condensed compendium of all that stuff. So maybe I'll go read that instead.
So they split up, although that night, weird sequence of events, maybe abstract on purpose, but they're separated. Shinji goes to sleep. He wakes up and Asuka's in bed with him now. Like, so I guess while he was sleeping, she snuck in the bed with him. And creepily, he starts to make a move on her while she's asleep and gets really freaking close, like millimeters close to making a move on her. And then it cuts and he's sleeping on the floor again. So you get the impression that he didn't actually do this, except the next morning she's messing with him and she just kind of throws out like, I know you tried to kiss me while I was sleeping. And he's like, yeah, but I stopped myself. I didn't really go through it. And she's like, oh my God, I didn't actually think that you did that.
Be careful what you dream.
And then it was like, to be continued.
Yeah. And then we get the acid bossa nova, Fly Me to the Moon. I had to look that up. I was like, is that Pizzicato 5? Which it's not. It was what was her name?
Oh, like is
Yoko
this a known artist that does
Takahashi.
that?
Oh, every Fly Me on the Moon's different if you haven't noticed at the end of the shows.
No, I actually have not noticed that.
It's always a different. So this one was all like acid, right? So this one sounded like distinctly different, you know. And this singer apparently is known basically for singing for Evangelion. And
I do remember at the end of this episode, I was like, "Oh, I'm letting these credits play a little bit longer for some reason." I don't remember the song being this good, but I just assumed it was the same song.
Yeah, so far because I like Pizzicato. It's not Pizzicato, but the lady, her first album actually was confusingly named Pizzicato spelled differently, so that made me like really confused for a minute. But anyone who wants to hear like late '90s fun, you know, not electronic. Well, it's got a lot of electronic, but Pizzicato 5, great band from the late '90s for Japan. So,
oh, speaking of music, we do find out what song that they were listening to that entire time, and I'm not positive, but I think it was a section of Ode to Joy, which is Beethoven's Ninth Fourth movement, like a small little segment outside of the one that most people remember that has those words. But I think that's the actual music that they were listening to synchronize with each other, because when they go and actually get into a battle at the end, that's the music that they're listening to in their Avas.
That's what I took away from it, sure. So, although if they're doing the Dance Dance Revolution, I don't know, some of the beat should have been, maybe it was the Bossa Nova Fly Me a Moon that they were synchronizing to. That would make a lot more sense. I mean, I play an orchestra, you slow down, the time signature changes, all that sort of stuff. Maybe that's why they were doing it, because of the changes, and you have to synchronize to that too. In that case, so
and my note for that was like, this is a cooler, more practical version of using music for a fight sequence, way better than Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's just like needle drop fights. Like they're doing a needle drop, but it's for them to synchronize as they fight, not just to add a cool soundtrack to like a visual.
Yeah, definitely like that touch. Any other things you want to throw on this episode, because we got another one to talk about.
Just I know you tried to kiss me while I was sleeping.
Sorry, it was a digital kiss only.
Oh, I guess we can do plugs and all that. Too early for the hard exit.
Oh yeah, you're good point. I'll do a quick one. We were talking music. I try and reprogram your brain. It's you can go to rovingsagemedia.com and look up anything that says binaural beats, or if you want to podcast it, I have like 20 plus up at Binaurals Infinity. You can just search that on your podcatcher, which does seem to have people just kind of stumbling in and playing the beat. So somebody seems to like it.
And since you're listening to a podcast right now, I'll just go ahead and tell you, go and search for Paranoid American wherever you listen to podcasts. If it's Spotify or Spreaker or Apple or any of the places. And there's also another podcast that I've started called Under the Docks, where I review old conspiracy documentaries with my friend Sean Chris from Kill the Mockingbird podcast. And we'll venture out into kind of normie documentaries, but right now we're getting through all of the classics. So we had like an Alex Jones month, we had a Kubrick month that we've got coming up. We've got an MK Ultra month coming up. So if you like conspiracies or if you like documentaries, especially if you like both, look up for Under the Docks, and that's DOCS for obvious reasons. So now you can say it. I know you tried to kiss me while I was sleeping.
I actually was thinking about saying that just to be completely obnoxious. You saw me thinking about it.
I did. I had to get it out.
I was like, should I say that to him, or is that just too obnoxious? So you got to say it again. Good for you.
All American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
Explore the unique with Paranoid American sticker sheets. Unearth tales of cryptids, cults, and mysteries through each sticker. These won't last long. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
All American stickers, cryptids, cults, and killers. We got all your favorite conspiracies, all of that and more on our sticker sheets. Paranoid American stickers, they'll make you smile and snicker. False flags and secret societies, all of these and more on our sticker sheets.
What the heck are you waiting for? Discover the extraordinary with Paranoid American sticker sheets. From cryptids in the night to cults out of sight, each sticker is a unique find. Get yours now at paranoidamerican.com.
Paranoid. I scribble my life away, driven to write the page. Will it enlighten your brain? Give you the flight, my plane, paper, the highs ablaze. Somewhat of an amazing feel when it's real to real. You will engage it. Your favorite, of course, the Lord of an arrangement. I gave you the proper results to hit the pavement. If they get emotional, hey, maybe your language, a game, how they playing it well without Lakers. Evade them, whatever the cost, they are the shapeshift. Snakes get decapitated, met is the apex. Execution of flame you out, nuclear bomb distributed at war, rather gruesome for eyes to see. Max them out, then I light my trees. Blow it off in the face, you're despising me for what though? Calculated and rather cutthroat. Paranoid American must be all the blunt smoke for real. Lord, give me a day away, vacate. They wait around to hate whatever they say. Man, it's not in the least bit. We get heavy rotate when the beat hits, so thank us, you're welcome. Fuck the niggas for real, you're welcome. They ain't never had a deal, you're welcome. Man, they lacking appeal, you're welcome. Yet they doing it still, you're welcome.